Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm your host, MegaRoar31. I'm sorry, another speculation video, another one of those situations where qualifying and practice and the race are all in the same day. So let's look at the weekend schedule for tomorrow. Practice at 2, qualifying at 3:10. So for 4:30 we should have lineups, and then the race is 7:30, so there's about a 3 hour gap, but then you still got to wait a little bit time to see if anybody's going to the back or if anybody, and this one's like kind of really important because of the amount of laps here in 200. There could be more dominator points than on some of the other tracks we've run. So if somebody's up in the front and it looks like, especially on the pole, and they have to start in the back, I mean, they're gonna lose their chance to probably be a dominator early, and that could hurt. It could change how you want to play them in the slate. So got to take all those things into consideration and then get the sheet out. So do the best I can. These speculation videos have been pretty good. We've nailed some winners. We've a lot of the things that we have talked about have come to fruition. Some things haven't, but like I said, you always have the option to, I think it's like $3 a day, $5 a week, to go into the description of the video. You can go to FSI DFS and sign up for the package for NASCAR, and you can get the sheet um, dated after qualifying and practice. So looking at this first kind of short track we have shaped like a paperclip, 200 laps, and there's a lot of new people in this field, which I think, I'm really probably going to stay with known commodities in this one. I will tell you who some of the newer drivers are and a little bit of their background. There wasn't much for some of them. So I think we just really have to look at the equipment they're in, the, find a little bit of their experience, and then you have to look at how they do in like practice and qualifying and see if they've got a good feel for the truck, if they've got some speed in the truck, and if it seems like whatever discipline they came from in racing transfers into driving this truck, and it's going to lead to them having a successful evening into night. And if not, then it might be a good idea just to kind of fade all these newer drivers that are just joining the field. There's about five of them that really haven't raced in the truck series yet this year, or like more than like once or twice overall in their whole lives. So starting up top, my model likes Lane Riggs to get the pole here. I think if he does, he could definitely be an early dominator. Much better form than he was in Martinsville last season. And but the model has a finishing six, just kind of based on like last year's results, which is a little small sample size on short tracks in his rookie year. And Chandler Smith, again, it's usually a boom bust play. I can see him going out there. I can see him possibly getting the pole or second. I can see him potentially going out there dominator, but the word continues to be potentially. So that makes him more of a GPP play for me. Ben Rhodes, I think, is pretty solid here at this track. Another one that, probably will qualify well, and if he doesn't, we'll probably be able to get some decent place differential. I know he didn't work out that great last week, but I think that he's always been solid and should have some upside here. Majeski, I believe, had the pole last year, and if you don't think, you know what, I might just switch these two because I like Majeski much better as a potential dominator here versus an upside dominator. Uh, Model has him finishing second, um, has the third most potential DK points here in when all things considered. So I really like him, and even if he doesn't lead early, I think that he could maybe be like the second dominator to get out there potentially. So like him. Crafton has some upside here too, like really like the price, especially if he starts like on the pole or starts down, has some place differential. I think he's kind of priced in no man's land because I think you're gonna try to get one, at least two of the 10K guys in there, and with all the value trucks just being like a cesspool in the 5K-ish range, that you're really gonna need this to be in the 6K range, and you might not, if you want to try to get the third driver in there, in like a high 8 or 9K range, there's no way you're going to be able to get like Crafton in your lineup unless you go with a balanced build and only go with one of the two of Haim and Byron, but that might be the call. So we'll have to see how things play out. So keep your eye on Crafton. I think he might be a good pivot play if you for a balance lineup in a cash lineup. If you're going balance as stars and scrubs, or if you're going at GPP, I really like his pricing there. Corey Heim, if he's not a dominator, he's going to be a prime play. He is just clear cut the best guy in the truck series. Dominant trucks. If his truck didn't keep on shutting off, it would have been an amazing finish last week, battling up there with Larson. I believe it was Riggs also. So I I really think that they're going to get it fixed. He's going to go out there and we'll just have a solid day. My model has him finishing first, leading the most laps, and it's all between he and Byron as to kind of what happens there. But again, like keep in mind, like Majeski um, and Lane Riggs and some others could be out there and have fast and dominator trucks and be able to stay up there and hold the lead. So again, practice the qualifying. We'll have to see how that shakes out. Stuart Friesen has actually had a solid season, and I think he's back. I think he's someone that you can consider with as with Crafton. Last year he was like a perennial GPP play. I could never trust to play him in cash, but this year I think he's cash safe. I think he's got a great floor. I think he's got a lot of upside too, and I think he's a solid cash play. Hemrick dropping on down here and just really hasn't hit his stride yet in the Cup Series, but I think it's just a matter of time. So he's going to be my first 20K driver here in the Giant GPP pool. Ankrum, I think he can be a cash play here. It's maybe about 30% of the time doesn't get it done and gets a DNF, but I think he's been pretty solid this year. And figure I really like here is cash play. Also, definitely if he qualifies up higher to be a dominator, I toyed with making him a prime play just because it looks like he doesn't always qualify well based on my model, but can probably get like fifth place and maybe even like win the race. But I just couldn't have a 9,800 die as a prime play. I wanted to try to find the best like three values before anything, and that's what I'm probably going to do tomorrow. Is like the prime play is going to be three value plays because then you're going to have to choose like Byron, Heim, or both. And then that's going to dictate the rest of your lineup right there. So I'm giving you like the solid plays to like build the base level of it, and then you got to decide like how you're going to build the house on top of it. So how expensive you want to go with the rest of the build, or you want to go with balanced guys. Are you going to chase place differential, or are you going to look for dominator points? So it makes this really fun with the builds. And hopefully nothing goofy happens like Iron gets a flat tire, Heim gets a flat tire, and they're going to start 35th and shotgun the field and be able to. Every truck should make it in here because they usually take 36. So I think that they'll be fine. I don't think any driver will not make it. If there is a cut, it'll probably be Norm Benning if they only take like 34. I'm pretty confident they'll take everyone. Uh, ADDL, Andres Perez de Lara. Uh, I had really good hopes for him starting the season. I kind of haven't lost that yet. Feels kind of the same with he and Ruggiero. Um, as kind of like same thing that Greg's faced last year is coming up and just kind of finding your way, and then things will eventually click and they'll both start to soar. Ruggiero has definitely had better finishes than Lara. But the Spire truck, like, he's got everything at his disposal here. It should be, and the pricing's nice too. So I have it in a GPP right now, but if he starts further on back and didn't, like if he had speed in practice, but then just maybe did something in qualifying, got a little loose or something, and starts deeper in the field, might be one to consider in cash, especially at 64. I think that might be a nice price if you're going for like a solid floor build like I have. Like my prime plays right now are 65, 66, and 56. And he would fit in there really nice if he doesn't qualify too far forward. And it looks like he has some speed in practice and decent fall off. Roger Cruth, cash play down here. He could potentially start up in the top five also, so he could potentially be a dominator. So again, we just have to see where he qualifies. Lozak has struggled to start the season, so it's going to be a GPP play for me unless it's an obvious cash play because he's starting like so far down in the field with all the other newer guys, and you know he's just going to blow their doors off and have like 10 to 15 place differential points. So Byron dropping down for Cup Series in the same truck that Larson drove. He's definitely fast, definitely competitive. He's definitely going to have some advantages to take some chances and do some goofy things. I want to clear up some confusion because I got. I love when we have astute listeners that call out things in the comments, and I appreciate it. Uh, I've said quite a few times that I really like playing up drivers and non-season drivers. The season drivers are the ones in the green. They're veteran drivers. The yellows are rookies in races and through all three series, simply because they don't have to play by some of the same rules as the regular drivers do, because they can change up their pit strategy and they don't have to stay out there at the end of stage. Um, for stage points. And I said, they can pit early before the stage, which is correct, but I should have been more clear on it, and that is my fault, my bad. In this race, you wouldn't pit early because you're going to lose multiple laps because they go by so fast. On a mile and a half, you're probably going to lose a lap also. It's a lot easier on super speedways to potentially do it, and on especially on road courses to do it where you pit right before and then they hit the caution and then you have the track position and stuff. But on every single track, if there's a caution, and this happened exactly in the Xfinity race um, last week at the end of stage one, where there was a caution, and it wasn't a caution that looked like it was going to be long enough that it was going to naturally end the stage. There's going to be like maybe two, three to go. That's the case where somebody like Byron, if they don't have the track position, can go in and pit, and even if they do lose the lap once, they could probably take like the wave around or um, be able to well, they wouldn't have to because they're not going to like lose a lap when they pit under caution, but they should be able. And you did see various drivers do that that weren't competing for stage points, go in and pit to try to hold the track position because as soon as their pitting is done and have new tires and fuel and everything, and as soon as the leaders go and have to pit after the stage is done, after they've gone out there and fought for their stage points, then they fall behind them and on the restart for stage two, then these people have the track position. And tracks where it's hard to pass and get track position, this can be key. And we don't know. Martinsville usually is decent against a short track on a lot of bumping and banging and grinding, which is really cool. Um, but you will eventually come to some tracks where it's so hard, whether it be like the conditions, the package, or especially in Cup, where they like change the packages up every so often to try to make things more competitive. And sometimes you create a parade versus a race, and like nobody can pass anybody. And those are the very crucial times where track position is king. So again, I'll get off that point and back to Byron is definitely. I don't think he's as strong as Larson um, was on the last track, but definitely a cup driver coming down into a truck. Now it's a little bit of an adjustment because they're like have the age shifting pattern and everything, and these trucks don't drive like a car does. And but I think he'll be fine. I think he'll do quite well again, unless he looks like super slow and or there's a mechanical problem that keeps on creeping up in practice and qualifying. You're just not completely sold that you're going to play 12-5, which is a huge chunk of your salary, on one driver here with like a potentially wounded duck tree. So you have to take that in consideration because Byron needs to get up there. He needs to place differential, needs to lead some laps and dominate to pay off the 12-5, or he's not going to be optimal. Tanner Grace, usually a solid play. Jake Garcia has been this season also. Ruggiero and Honeycutt, like I said, this whole range here, I know it goes from 86 down to 69, so you have a variety of prices, but I think they're all pretty solid if they start in this range between 15 and 20th definitely be considered as cash plays. They have some floor, and they should all finish in the top 20. Jack Wood has had his struggles, but I think he can put things together and he usually has pretty low ownership. So I consider him a 20K driver. Matthew Gould is he's 19 years old. He's from California. He's run some ARCA races, but nothing. Two top tens in ARCA Menard series over uh, 2 years, one top 10 in the E series. So nothing really that like really pops out. Two truck series last year he ran Milwaukee and another race. He finished like 33rd and 27th. So my model has him qualifying pretty well here, but I think he's going to finish in the 30s. That's what everything points to. Lawless Allen, GPP, he's the number one Tricon truck, and this should be a solid ride for him, but he just hasn't started the season off pretty. Um, well, actually, I don't think he's raced at all this year, so because he's coming up as zero there. So, um, I mean, Allen's hit or miss. Like he's in good equipment here. Let me see. Doesn't come up. Racing reference is not loading. But anyways, if I see anything like super important on him, I'll put him in the comments. But I like the truck. And we'll just have to check out practice and qualifying. And he's at least average. He's not a backfeeder. He's not a bad driver. He's an adequate driver and decent equipment. But I'll have to. My model just doesn't like him in this race too much. Alan Waller, another new guy coming into the 22 truck for Reum Brothers, aka H.A. Waller. He grew up driving go karts at a very young age, turned to pure stock and street stock. And in 2020 or 2021, he was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Um, and had dropped out of racing and went through like cancer treatments, but he's come back recently and raced some modifies. And I think this one has a lot of upside and potential. It really seems like Rayum is investing in him, and this isn't just like a one-off thing that he's going to get some opportunities in this truck this year. So uh, my model likes him to start like in the 20s and like finish in close to 20. So I'm gonna put him in my 20K lineup potentially. He's got some upside there. And if he doesn't end up in the 20K lineup, then he might be, if I like what I see with the speeds in practice, he could be one of the drivers that I'm going to throw in my cash lineup. So Matt Mills is where I start with the prime plays here. And I think you can really start to build from him. He's got a lot of experience. He's scoring almost 30 DK points a race. My model has him starting 23rd and finishing 26, but I think if he can just kind of finish where he starts, like he should be fine. Get the 4x value that I look for in cash, and I think that's a solid place to start. Munoz, cash play. I consider him maybe for one of the primes, but I just I think again that I don't think he's finished worse than 26 in a race, which is good to like start the season. So, and I don't think he's finished any higher than 23rd. So he's like consistently in this range. So if he starts 24th and he finishes 24th or 25th, like I have here, he's like 4x at 5'8". That's all you really need. I think he can get it done. He's not going to wow you by any means, but he's definitely turning into a kind of a steady Eddie in the truck series, and I'm starting to not take him like seriously as a driver, like a serious contender, but I'm taking him as someone that can go out there and get the job done. And not be like a complete back marker. Luke Baldwin, next guy up on who is this driver? Uh, 18-year-old from North Carolina. He's raced like four modified races. Another like one that they think that's up and coming. I don't think he's got multiple races within this Thor Sport truck. I think they're just going to give him an opportunity here and see. My model has him starting 25th and moving up to 21st. I don't know if that's I still like Waller better here between the two young guys, but GPP for me. Boston Sutton is another recognizable name down here. Sometimes he qualifies pretty well, but if he doesn't, like he's definitely a truck that can maybe get to 15th position, which would be 11 place differential points if he starts down here in the low 20s. So I think that he's another solid prime play at 6,600. Corey Brenninger has had a mediocre start. I wouldn't say that she struggled, but again, it's starting to get used to the truck. It's a good truck. It's a good team, and I think again, I think it will click. It might just take a little bit of time and repetition, and there's gonna be a race where she's like finishes in the top 10 out of nowhere and just like blows everybody's mind. And I think it's coming like later rather than sooner. But GPP again, we just have to look and see how they feel for the track there. And it's a young racing career. She's done a lot of ARCA stuff, but really don't know what style suits her best. Like, is she a super speedway driver? Is she a road course driver? Is she more of a intermediate track? Maybe short track's going to be her jam. So we'll have to see with that how she does in practice and qualifying and go from there. Spencer Boyd, I'm putting as the third prime play. So with these three prime plays that I have here, again, they might not be the prime plays when we have everything said and done, but if they are qualifying in the back side of the field here, then I'm going to take them as prime plays for place differential and raw points, and that's going to open up your opportunity to get your Heims, Majeskis, Byrons, Riggs, end fingers into your lineups. And if we go more like kind of stars and scrubs, I think that these ones have floor over some of the other ones down here. So who's up next? Cody Dennison. Cody Dennison, come on down. He was an ARCA driver for 2 years. Average guy, like his ARCA finishes were like somewhere in like the low teens. Like, how does that translate to truck? It's like usually low 20s, because you have more people in the field and the driver talent. So I think he's okay again, but again, we'll have to see what happens. Riom, it's a good truck, unless like Riom's starting to get a lot of trucks out here. How many are they filled in this week? Only three, so it's not that bad. It just feels like they have five or six some weeks. Um, so that's not really spreading them too thin. So I think he's got some upside. Patrick Staropoli. So this guy graduated from Harvard, magna cum laude, which I think is like the highest honor academically for that. And then he went on to, I believe, be like a medical school to be eye doctor. He did some like racing in Xfinity and like couple cup or not cup, never had a cup, truck and ARCA and in the like mid 2010s, but really it's almost been like 10 years since he's raced. So I don't know, if he became a rich eye doctor and now he's got some money to spend. So he's becoming a weekend warrior, going out there trying to race, like pursuing his childhood dream. Like I really don't see like a ton of upside here, other than I bet you he can really see the track very well. Uh, so we'll have to keep an eye on him literally. Uh Bird is again has not been the strongest truck here. I feel he's one that could potentially be a fade and maybe go down lap after lap after lap. Then we have our last newer guy, Ryan Roulette. Ryan had ARCA a few races, had a good half a season, 2024. I think he's like either like a late teens or early 20s. Freedom Racing Express really doesn't inspire too much confidence for me. I know it says he's going to go from 32nd to 24. I just don't feel that that's taking into consideration the quality of the truck here. So I would have like all these ones between Waller and well, Gould and Waller and Baldwin and Dennison and Staropoli and Roulette. I think that, like I said, like Waller would be like my number one, and then probably Baldwin would be my number two. And I don't know if I'd take any of the rest of these guys unless something really pops in practice. Corey Day, consider him a prime play, but again, 7,500 is like kind of no man's land. He has qualified well and like fallen like a rock, or he's not qualified well and done really well getting some place differential. So again, if you're doing a balance build, I definitely consider he and Crafton to be in there. But if you're trying to jam a lot, and if it just makes sense that you have to kind of eat the chalk and take a Byron and Heim or a Byron and Majeski or Byron and Finger, which is going to eat up a lot of salary, then you I don't know if you're going to be able to get like a Day and a Crafton in your lineup in the 7K range. But if you can, then I think they're solid plays depending on where they start, unless they start in a weird position or have issues and like it looks like mechanically potentially. Benning and Carroll are fades. Like I just don't see them staying on like the lead lap, and I think like the back of the field's going to go pop pretty fast, and then they're just going to go lap after lap after lap down. So that's what I got for you. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me on MegaRow30 on Twitter. X. Great news is at Xfinity, we do get the practice and qualifying on Friday. So for Saturday's race, I can have an actual video versus a speculation video. So look forward to doing that tomorrow night for you. So good luck in your contest. Check out FSI. We got a lot going on right now. Besides football, I think we have like every sport going between PGA and soccer and baseball just started. We're still grinding NBA, we're still grinding NHL, PGA, if I didn't say that already, and obviously NASCAR. So come check us out. We've got a la carte packages where you can just pick one sport or you can pick the VIP ones, and that's very, very cheap for you. I think it's like $6 a day to get all the sports. And like $25 a week. So not super expensive. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. You know how to get a hold of me if you need any help, and I'll see you next time.